Floyd was a real cool guy, man, at that time. You know, we all, like kids do, man, we always ran, jumped, played together, man, played football, played piggy, played strikeouts, laugh and talk, joke. He lived on one side of the highway and I lived on the other side of the highway. But we was all cool. We never had no problems. As a matter of fact, I thought he was one of the coolest guys in the world. I used to call him Pretty Boy Floyd. That's how close we were. Again, like I said, he was a real cool guy before he started hustling. I used to call him Pretty Boy, and there wasn't no problem with that, man. He was always smiling. Hey, George, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm doing good. Pretty boy, what's going on? And, we always rode like that. Always rode like that. That was before he started hustling. Okay, now, when he started hustling and he started making a lot of money, I noticed a change in his attitude when I met him up at the liquor store. At the time, it was called Ernie's. And I was talking to him, and I was up there buying me something to drink at the time, and he walked in. He walked in. He had on a suit. That was the first time I ever really seen him with a suit. He had on a little hat, gangster down, And I said, "Pretty boy, what's going on?" Now I had heard about him, and all of that, but I know me and him know each other. So when I said, "Pretty boy, what's going on?" he looked at me in a way that he had never looked at me, and then he said, "My name, Floyd." I'm like, "What?" So, oh, okay then, man. So after that, as far as the conversation between him and I, with the attitude that he presented to me at that time, I kind of stopped, messing. Well, at that time, man, crack cocaine, man, was really new to us, and so everybody that started off, if they had any sense, selling crack cocaine made a lot of money. So Floyd was one of those guys that had a little bit of sense. He knew how to save his money. He didn't just spend his dollars, wild or crazy. He invested back into the product that he was dealing, which consequently he started making a whole bunch of money. And this is when his whole attitude changed. Money changes, folks. And when he started making all of that money, man, he started acting and feeling as though that he was a big shot. Like he was Al Capone or somebody. John Gotti. He had that type of mentality, man. He was cutthroat. He had set up dope houses where you can go and buy, and had people had lookouts and all of that. Money was coming in, and he's a little old bitty Ford Hikian, man, never had nothing. We all come from the ghetto, and then all of a sudden he got all this money, and he started looking down on the ones that didn't have, and he was always paranoid and watching his back, walking around with bodyguards and stuff like that. To him, that was big time. That was big time. But to all of us, he was just still same old Floyd, because the bodyguards that he had, they was all poop butts. They wasn't nobody. They was just somebody, man, hanging around Floyd because Floyd was making all the money, But we were young at the time. Like I said, we were all young. We were all young. When his name started ringing like he was a gangster, man, I was just hearing that. I didn't know this for sure, but when you mentioned his name, folk were saying that he, you know, had a lot to do with certain people they owed him money getting beat up and stuff like that. I never did think that Floyd would, do nothing like that. Like I said again, when him and I used to hang around together, the Floyd that I know, he was a real beautiful dude. But money changes things, money changed people, and by him making all of this money, man, I'm quite sure it was a lot of people, man, that was on him and trying to take advantage of him because they grew up with him. And so in order for him to be the successful entrepreneur that he was trying to be, he had to, show force and make sure that his money kept coming and not get interrupted. So, and with that, then you hear about him, man, having people head, clocked because they owed him money. So that's what gave me to know that yeah, he was kind of tough. So Floyd was at the top of his game. Floyd had power. There was a whole lot of guys that were selling, and they had a whole lot of status. A lot of prestige. And Floyd was one of them. He was in and he was one of the top 10. He wasn't the big guy, but he was ranking. he was ranking up there. So, and he had a lot of prestige, and he had a lot of clout, and I'm sure he had a lot of big names, man, working for him because he was pushing a lot of dope. The relationship with Jack Davis and Floyd was the same type of relationship that Jack Davis had with everybody that we knew. We all grew up. Everybody knew Jack Davis, and as far as a relationship with Jack Davis, each and every last one of us had a beautiful relationship with Jack Davis. Jack Davis was although he was the chief of police, he also was like a father figure to us, man. You know, he kept us in line, made sure that we didn't do nothing dirty, and made sure that we kept ourselves out of trouble. I had no knowledge of the fact that him and Jack Davis had anything to do with selling drugs, because again, the relationship with Jack Davis and the relationship with me and Jack Davis, as well as all the rest of the people that came up with Floyd, it was always good. You know, he kept us in line. So the relationship with Jack Davis and Floyd was the same as everybody else's. So I thought. Never known anything about him and Jack Davis having the clicking on, you know, as far as selling, you know, drugs.
Illegal activity?
Yeah, I never known anything about them two dealing with anything illegal. Okay, your dad, man, was a real cool dude at first. But then once he got really caught up into that drug activity, man, you know, he changed. Not just him, but everyone that got into that or involved with selling dope and was bringing in a whole bunch of money by selling that dope, their whole mentality changed. You know, they had to have this persona that, hey, look, I'm going to do you before you do me. And I'm quite sure that by him being in that game, that's a cutthroat game. Everybody laughed and skinned and grinned their teeth up in your face, wasn't none of your friend. Floyd knew and understood that. He knew the consequences of the game. You live and die by the game. He knew that, and he understood that. He knew that he was in a terrible game, but hey, he had to play the game. And he played it all the way up until his demise. Shooting death of Floyd, I heard about it. From what I remember, he was having an altercation. I don't want to mention any names, but he was having an altercation with this one individual, and he went up into this lounge, and again, this, like I tell you, this was the mindset that he was in. You know that. Again, the shooting death of Floyd. It was a kind of a sad occasion. But from what I remember, from what I heard about it, he was up in the lounge. He was talking with somebody, and they got to arguing back and forth. And so when Floyd walked out of the lounge, he was still standing up there. Allegedly had been still arguing with somebody, and somebody, from what I know, from what I was told, walked up behind him and shot him. And that was kind of sad, because somebody that I knew and grew up with, had got killed, and it was sad, because it didn't have to happen like that. But you live hard, you play hard, you die hard, and so he died like he lived. I like Floyd because he was a real cool guy. His personality was nice. Him and I never had any quarrel. Never had nothing bad to say to one another. It was always friendly. We always had something to laugh about. He had a cool way of smiling and looking. He was cool, What I disliked about him was the fact that he allowed money to change him. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. He could have had much success if he would have just not let the money go to his head. If he had not ever felt as if he had to be this tough guy, he would have been all right. By him taking that attitude on, the people that used to like him started disliking him. I didn't per se dislike him, but I just didn't want to have anything else to do with him because the Floyd that I knew had changed. The Floyd that I knew had died. And this new Floyd, I didn't know. I'd like to say this about, the life that he lived. Should set an example to all of the young brothers and sisters that's coming up and thinking that they can play the game. You can't do that because eventually the game is going to play you. Two things happen. You either get killed like Floyd did or you go to jail. I don't care how successful that you find yourself, how successful you be, two things will ultimately happen. You either have to kill or you're going to be killed. That's the game. That's the nature of that beast. If you want anything out of life, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Then all those things will be added unto you. If you don't know Jesus, find Jesus. Let Floyd's life be an example. Let Floyd be an example to not only the young but the old as well. We have to do something with our lives. Time is winding down. People that you know, just look at them. Look at your surroundings. Is this what you want to be about? This how you want to be remembered? Do you want to be a face on a t-shirt? Think about that. Or do you want to be successful? If you're scared of success, keep doing what you're doing. If you're not afraid of success, change what you're doing. God will bless you. If you trust in him, have faith in him, and have confidence in him, I guarantee it.